Well, I'm certainly encouraging him to. So, it'll be fantastic to get sort of like our CTOs, our senior leadership teams, just engaging more with you guys on the Twitter sphere. We should have Tarsif joining very soon as well. Let me just ping him, guys. Just hold the line, and I'm going to get him ready and set up. Gaurav, are you here? Do you want to turn on your mic just to check that we can all hear you loud and clear?
Hello, everyone. Guys, can you hear me?
Yes, we can hear you loud and clear. Thank you so much.
Nice to meet you all again.
Fantastic. All right. Tarsif is here. Let's bring him on stage as well. Cool, guys. Here we go, Tarsif. So, guys, you have 3 members of the senior leadership team here today. We are all incredibly excited to connect with you once again. We're debating to probably transition this over to spaces with thousands of people joining when it comes to our spaces. And as you guys know, IOFam, we do want to reach as many people as possible. Of course, we will follow usual protocol. You will send your questions in. We'll love to answer them. But since the team is here, let's kick it off. So first of all, everyone, welcome on Wednesday, 30th of October. Super excited to have you all here. Happy Diwali to those who are celebrating this week. Happy Halloween to those who are celebrating that. We've got an incredible amount of people from all around the world: Tennessee, New York, Philippines, Pakistan, Turkey, Ukraine, and so many places. So fantastic. Thank you, Ark. It's good to see you again as well. Yes, Pulkit Garopea is here. Fantastic. Well, guys, we have quite a few questions you guys have sent in. So first of all, thank you always for sending that in. We love taking your questions and answering them. We're going to kick it off with some questions regarding rewards and staking, and then we'll probably head to utilization thresholds and limits. Then perhaps talk a little bit about some scalability things, and then of course, if time permits, we'll probably open up the floor. So with that being said, let's kick it off with the first question. So some of you guys have asked us, when can we claim block rewards for this month? So, we are, as you guys may know, we are issuing it on a monthly basis for now. If we are willing to change it, but we're not going to change anything drastically without announcing it. So, rest assured, it is all done on a monthly basis for now. But anything in the future, if it does change, will always be announced as per the usual protocol, of course, on Discord, through the astronauts, through the community moderators, and many other places. So that's the first question. I hope that helps.
Milan, my bad. I think
Yes.
when you're not here in the last AMA, I updated the team. Apologies. I couldn't sync up with you, right? Once you've
No
come back
worries.
from vacation. So we have decided to do bi-weekly airdrop going forward.
Okay.
So we decided that. So we'll do that. So hopefully you'll see now 2 airdrops in a month
There you go,
going
guys.
forward.
Even better. I would say, happy Halloween. That's amazing news. Fantastic. I'm sure many of you guys will love that. And thank you so much, Gaurav, for jumping in there and giving an update to the community. The next question that we have from you guys is, when will we receive airdrops from projects partnering with ionet? Well, guys, there's no one better placed to answer that question than the OG himself, Tarsif, who represents and works with all of our partners. So, Tarsif, over to you, buddy. When can we sort of expect to receive airdrops from projects partnering with ionet?
Yeah, absolutely. So I'll say from my side, a number of our partner projects, which of course I'm sure you guys have seen, which we have several of, are across various phases of maturity in terms of where they are in terms of like TG and tokenization and mainnet and testnet and all that. All I can say right now is that we're working with a number of partners where we're having these discussions about, potentially rewarding participants in the IO ecosystem and stakers with airdrops. We can't publicly commit and say to a particular timeline quite yet, but I will mention that this is something that we're having a lot of conversations with partners on, and there's a few who are on board already, which you'll likely kind of start to see more details about in the coming weeks and months. So I'll just say, expect to be surprised in the future.
Brilliant. Thank you so much for that, Tarsif. And as you guys know, we work with so many partners, right? And there's so much opportunity on the table, and the moment Tarsif gives the go ahead on anything, we would love to share it with you guys. So stay tuned. Lots of exciting things coming up in that regard. The next question from you guys is, does ionet have plans to add a staking pool with rewards in the future? If so, is there an estimated launch timeframe? So I'll take that, Gaurav and Tarsif, and if you have anything else to share, like, feel free. But the answer is yes, as far as we know, that staking phase 2 will be released in the current quarter. So definitely keep your eyes peeled for that. Going on to the next question. One of you guys have said, is there a minimum staking requirement for non-worker staking? And the answer to that, guys, is that it really depends on the worker owner. For example, like, some people might have a H100 but can't afford a 2000 IO. So if let me just see here what deep dive into the question a little bit more. Okay, that's a little bit more of a technical question. Gaurav, do you want to touch on that? The question is, will there be a minimum staking requirements for non-worker staking? Just unpacking it here, but it looks like
the answer is yes. So there would be a minimum staking requirement and a minimum commitment as a part of the return also. So for the number we are discussing right now internally is that 10% would be the minimum staking which the co-staker has to give, and the minimum reward they'll get back is like 5% at least. Obviously, the way we are implementing it is kind of a marketplace where anyone who needs anything less than 50% of what they're expected to stake on the hardware, if they need less than 50% of the help, they can basically bid on the platform the way we are creating it. But even when they're bidding, there is a minimum requirement that you have to open up for 10% of the stake, and the minimum you have to give is 5%. After that limit, it's predominantly market driven, that how much the respective hardware wants to ask and what they will offer. Totally market driven from there.
Fantastic, thank you. And Gaurav, since we have you, I actually have a follow-up question regarding staking and regarding this topic. And the question is, when can we expect documentation on the phase 2 staking?
So the product team is actually already working on it. So the work is already in progress on that part. So there are two things which we are working on. The second one is not very concrete, so I'll not commit to it. But basically, the first one, which I said, the marketplace driven, like any hardware which has to stake, they will come to the platform, and let's say they will say, I'm supposed to stake 2000 coins for one GPU. I only have 1000. So they can come to the platform and say, I'm willing to ask for 1000 coins in return for 20% returns, right? Similarly, another person could say for 1000, I want to give 30%. Somebody may say 10%. That is one product, marketplace driven, right? There's one caveat to it. The caveat is that the amount of rewards which we are giving is pretty good. So some suppliers may not want to share, and we do know that. So I think we will launch with this particular product. But if there are not a lot of people who will help the community to stake, then we are exploring another product, which we call it IO Insurance. It's still in ideation phase, where there would be a pool and then people can commit to the pool and then they can take the rewards, but still in a very early phase. So we will launch the phase 1 first, see organically how the whole product will evolve. But if we see that the community is not benefiting and a lot of people can take advantage as a part of staking phase 2, then we have a couple of other ideas on the table also, so that community can participate.
Fantastic. Thank you so much for sharing context on that, Gaurav. I hope that's clear for all of you. If you have any more questions, of course, feel free to send them through. Moving on to the final question of this topic. So one of you guys has mentioned that my ionet balance, cloud balance, is 2 USDC. Can I withdraw my balance? So what I will say to that, guys, is that we do have a minimum withdrawal amount of $50. Additionally, there's obviously a $3 sign up gift credit that can't be withdrawn. But please do open a support ticket if you do feel that you are eligible to withdraw. And if there's anything, of course, technical that is preventing that from preventing you guys from withdrawing, providing you meet the minimum requirements, we'll certainly look into that for you. So thank you so much for sending that in. Excited to move on to the next topic of today, which is utilization thresholds and limits. So I believe this will be probably more within the technical domain. So I'll throw it over to Gaurav. So Gaurav, we have a question here which says, does ionet have plans to implement a notification system when workers stop working? If not, is there a plan to do so in the future?
So the answer is yes. This question came a couple of AMAs back also, and I had told that it's one of the KPIs in our tech side to create a notification system and send notifications to folks for multiple use cases, like when their hardware goes down, use cases where a hardware gets a help from a co-staker, and let's say a co-staker unstakes, then the main staker has to again create a bid. Like all these things will be part of the notification system going forward. So we are working on it already.
Fantastic, thank you. And Gaurav, while we have you on the topic of utilization thresholds and limits, we've got one more question that I would like to ask, and that is, could you clarify the specific CPU and GPU utilization thresholds that devices must adhere to on ionet, and how can workers ensure that devices stay within these limits to avoid penalties?
It's a very we've been very lenient, to be honest, on our side. So when a particular cluster is created, post that we basically see whether the hardware is less than 10% before an actual job is run. Like before we give the ability for the cluster owner to deploy something, and when the cluster is ready, we take a snapshot of the GPU and the CPU percentage usage. And when nothing is running in the background, it should be less than 10%. That's what we aim for. And then we also nowadays still in test phase. We haven't made it mandatory in terms of respecting the data, but we have already have a job which constantly runs, takes a snapshot of CPU and GPU without the hardware being part of cluster, like normal idle hardware also. We are now taking snapshot of that also of CPU and GPU. And very soon we will start putting some restriction on that also. That number we haven't decided, but when something adds to the cluster, at that time it's less than 10% before a job runs.
Brilliant. Thank you. Thank you for that, Gaurav. Super clear there. So fantastic. Well, look, guys, that answers all of the questions on the utilization thresholds and limits. Moving on to the next topic. Now, this is always a really interesting topic because it's about scalability and infrastructure. So the first question that you guys have said is that with the number of workers and stakers limited, how can ionet meet the growing demands of its partners as the customer bases expand? So since that question is about partners and customers, I believe the best person for this is Tarsif. So Tarsif, do you want to answer that question?
Yeah, sure thing. And great question here, right? So I think the best way to sort of describe this and kind of like talk a little bit about our approach here is essentially the fact that ionet is a two-sided marketplace, very similar to kind of like the Airbnbs and Ubers of the world, right? So we have a supply side and a demand side, and for the success and sustainability of any sort of two-sided marketplace, you need to make sure both of those sides grow in lockstep together to ensure that both parties are, entering a win-win situation. If you have too much of one side, the marketplace itself, the structure of the marketplace isn't very sustainable. So as you've kind of seen with our platform and on the Explorer, we've done a lot of work on the supply side. We've built a lot of relationships. We've brought a lot of suppliers and workers onto the platform across a variety of GPU types and a variety of form factors and locations. So now sort of our focus has shifted more towards growing the demand side to make sure that the supply side is sustainably rewarded. And I think once we kind of reach more of that equilibrium, once sort of like demand side kind of meets more of the supply side, we will look at kind of continuing to grow both sides of the marketplace in lockstep, right? So as our utilization thresholds start to get we get closer to our utilization thresholds and wants to sort of expand our network to be able to meet more and more demand, we'll kind of start to look at selectively expanding the network again, expanding the number of workers and stakers, and so on and so forth. Essentially, part of this whole structure is to figure out how do we make sure that the ionet network and protocol grow sustainably and is set up for success in the future.
Thank you. Yeah, that makes a lot of sense, Tarsif, and super excited to see that unravel in the future. On that note, we do have a slightly like different question, but it definitely falls under the umbrella of scalability and infrastructure. So this question is that I'd like to compare the structures of ionet and Akash. So in Akash, there is an on-chain marketplace to match workers and demanders. Does ionet have something similar, like a similar design? So Gaurav, do you want to shine some light onto that?
So we are normally a user-driven platform. So, and we basically hear the community a lot and then we do internal changes. So when it is like a marketplace driven thing, it at a top level, you feel that it'll be good. The prices will always be fair, but there's a lot of manipulation which could also be done when such kind of marketplace is there just to spike up the prices or to bring down the prices, and which eventually impact the user because they don't get the actual price at which they benefit. Because sometimes people will do n number of things to spike up the price of the hardware, and sometimes the other way around also. The approach
Sure.
we did was that we look at the market and we take a look at everyone. We take a look at like AWS of the world, the Googles of the world, the local level data centers, everyone. And we see their price. And then we see what is the best price which is there in the market. And then we provide a price which is better than that. So we kind of guarantee the user that the price we're giving is better than anyone, right? Will there be times when our price is basically not optimal because like maybe the market has changed and like someone is giving a better price compared to us and like our prices are old? Remotely it can happen, but in those cases we have two factors. One is when all these demands come in from the customers, we take a note of that. Secondly, a lot of times, for example, just last AMA, somebody raised that the 4090s is earning or the rent of the 4090s is comparatively higher in some places compared to other platforms, right? We took a note of it. And in those cases, we again go back, research, and then we make sure that the price is always the best. So we, rather than like have this market driven thing, we focus on the user and then we try to make sure that the price in the market is optimal, that the user is always benefited rather than focusing on our profit by having this market driven thing. That's not the philosophy we are going with. We are going with two philosophies. One, that all the suppliers who are in our business working with us, they're always benefiting as part of the block rewards, so their returns are good. That's one. And second, we want to guarantee that any customer who comes to us gets the best price, irrespective our platform usage is 70% or 20% or 40%. They get the best price, period. So that's the philosophy we have gone with. And like that's what we will stick with in the near future.
Amazing. Thank you so much for that, Gaurav. I hope that makes sense, guys. Gaurav's provided a very clear sort of like strategic philosophy, right, about how we wish to operate as a business and what you can potentially expect, providing there are certain caveats to that. So I hope that answered your question in a little bit more detail. Now, moving on to the next question, we've got some more ad hoc questions that we'll sort of answer now. And then once we sort of close this off, we'll go on to the floor. So I want you guys to start thinking about some of the questions that you either may have for like myself, Gaurav, or Tarsif. It could be anything within the domain, and then of course, naturally, we will pick the best questions. But before we do that, and while you guys are thinking about it, I'm just going to tackle a couple more questions that we have received from the community. It's actually a question that relates to me, and one of you guys has said that will there be a document published for XPs? Will there be roles? Will XPs be converted into IO at a certain rate? I would like more details about this. So, guys, first of all, thank you so much for sending in questions regarding XP. I would say that the whole XP program is being hashed out as we speak right now. We have growing the marketing team, we've had a couple of fantastic new hires that have joined from some of the biggest exchanges, right? We've got a couple of ex-Binance people who've joined, and we're incredibly excited to have them join the marketing community. With that being said, we are looking at, how can we optimize XP in a way that is meaningful and makes sense. We are flushing that out, but when it does come to the XP, of course, there'll be rewards and recognitions based on the appropriate tiers in a way that is incentivized, meaningful, and actually, values the great work that you guys will be doing. So what I would say is stay tuned, just bear with us. We are putting together a lot more, and we want to ensure that with the XP program that you guys are appropriately rewarded, for obviously engaging within the community. So just bear with us. We are putting together some further information on that. Once it is done, yes, you will absolutely have some sense of clarity, whether it's a document or some guidelines about how the XP program will work. And then, naturally, based on that, you'll be able to gain the respective rewards and whatever else it may be at the time. So thank you so much for that question. But to answer your question, yes, in the future, there will be further guidelines about the XP program. Moving on to the next question, we have a question which says, when will the DAO system be implemented? DAO was mentioned in Tori's document. So first of all, great question, and thank you so much for answering that. To be candid, look, it's something that we're exploring in the background, but the timeline is yet to be decided. We're still very much in early stages regarding this, and I'd probably class it under I would say the product creation phase. So we are adding more color to this. The intricacies of this probably hasn't been ironed out just yet, but do bear with us, because the moment it is, I will of course be sharing it with you guys in the AMA, and you'll be the first to know. So thank you for answering that, well, for asking that question, and just keeping tabs on that, right? It's really important to us as a business that whatever we are committing to, whatever we're saying to you, we are adhering to it, and if there's an eventuality where things have to change, then we're definitely informing you throughout the process. So thanks for sending in a great question. The next one that we have is, when will the extra earnings from September 1st to the 7th be deposited? Gaurav, do you want to take that question?
Hello, can you repeat the question once, please?
Yeah, absolutely. It says, when will the extra earnings from September the 1st to the 7th be deposited?
Tomorrow.
Brilliant. Fantastic. Exciting to hear that, and I hope you guys are incredibly excited as well. I'm going to take two more questions here, and then we will move it to the floor. So guys, start thinking about it, start wording them out. I'm coming to you very, very soon, but at first I'm just going to take 2 minutes to answer these final two questions. So the first is, do Tori and the other team members think that are they using social media actively enough, especially the activity on X? It's very important for people who are examining projects. Is there plans to improve this? 100%, right? Our team is definitely there to increase their presence. As I mentioned at the beginning of this AMA, Gaurav is now on Twitter. So for those of you who are not following him, go and follow him. Soon, Tarsif will be a lot more active on the platform as well. Tori will be more active. We definitely feel it's important for our leadership to have a presence on X, engage with you all, put out tweets, and that provides an opportunity for momentum, conversations, and just us being in the trenches with you guys, hearing what your feedback is, and that is always going to be valuable for us. So absolutely, there are plans for the leadership team to do that. And like I said, right, on that note, we're probably going to be hosting our AMA on X next week. That is the plan right now. And you will see our handles on there. So feel free to ask many questions to the leadership team directly, and we would love to engage with you guys on there. And the last question that I have from the community that was sent in is, when will the IOs earned from the events be deposited into the account? Almost 2 months have passed and I haven't received my IO. So what I would say, guys, is that this does sound like an isolated incident. To our knowledge, all the IOs have been deposited. I think we need some further clarity here with regards to what events specifically you're talking about. So whoever sent this question in, I would encourage you to just raise a ticket or raise it with a community moderator or an astronaut. Let us understand what event this is regarding. And of course, if we've missed a deposit for any reason whatsoever, we will rectify as soon as possible. So guys, always encourage you guys to give us as much details as like as possible. It just helps us answer things better. But if this is an isolated incident, like please feel free to raise it with our community moderators, and we will get you the IO that you are due from the event. So thank you all for sending in such brilliant questions. Of course, feel free to do so next week as well. We're definitely excited to answer them. Now, moving on to more of the ad hoc questions. Gaurav, Tarsif, is there anything here that you think is particularly interesting that we can answer? Got questions from Dirac. Who else? We got Luffy. We've got a question from there.
Yeah, so there's somebody who has asked that any info on the M4 and M4 Pro chips and this one, right? So I'll
Yeah.
just take a step back and even generalize this question, because I saw a couple of questions earlier also for CPU. So
Sure.
I think, and there was a question last time as well, that when are we opening up the network, right? So I think the first thing we most probably will do is we'll open up the M chips, looks like, to be added more, because right now we give around 5% of the whole reward pool to the CPUs, and the amount of hardware we allowed in, we practically are seeing that the CPUs are earning more than like the 4090s, the GPUs in some cases, right? And we did the math in the background, and we saw that it'll be fair to basically allow more CPUs to be added to the network. So very soon you will see that particular funnel being opened up, and as a part of that, if there's any stronger M chips which are there and they validate themselves that they are better than the existing ones, then we will make them eligible also with the new multiplication factor.
Fantastic. Thanks for that, Gaurav. Appreciate the clarity there. Any more questions, guys? Either for myself, Tarsif, any more for Gaurav? Let's see what we have. Give us just 20 seconds, guys. We're just scanning some questions here. Thanks, Gaurav, for jumping in there. Let's see if we can get one more answered, if there's anything interesting that's
I
going
think there are a
on.
bunch of people asking XP things. I think you should. And when you were not there, like many folks were interested, what's happening to the XP points and so on and so forth. I think giving some
Okay,
clarity to these guys will be helpful.
All right, fantastic. So, so someone's written, how much XP are we getting for participating in this AMA? So yeah, guys, look, that's what we're really looking to do, right, with regards to XPs, is actually have, like, my vision is to have some sense of gamification, right? And that means that your activities are rewarded. What we're really working on right now is that if we say X number of messages, we want to ensure that those messages are meaningful, right? Otherwise, it's so easy to type things which don't add value to the community. So when it comes to XP points, it has to be tied in a way where it is based on value, because the more value you add to the community, the more value the community will get out of it, and likewise, so will you, right? And so it's a cyclical thing that we have to work on. But what I would say is that when it does come to the XP points, it will be tied to rewards, it will be tied to airdrops, it'll be tied to merch, it'll be tied to a lot of things that we are essentially going to co-pilot together. This isn't going to be something that we just roll out. Typically, the way that we are going to roll this out is that once we have some hypothesis about how the XP program will work, we will raise it with the community moderators, we will raise it with the astronauts, we'll run it by them. We'll just make sure that this is something that you guys are going to be excited for. It's something you're going to be really eager to partake in. I've got the team working on merch, for example, and designs. I want to see some incredible merch, right? That this quarter develop, right? And let's see if we can get that out in terms of winners and prize pools and whatever else it may be. So what I would say is that the specifics of the XP programs will be launched very, very soon. We've had a bunch of new people, like I said, join the marketing team. And the moment that's hashed out, we will certainly, be sharing it with you guys. So thanks for sending that in. Happy Diwali all. Well, look, guys, I think it's been an incredible AMA. So lovely to connect with you all again. We've had over 30 minutes of driving some incredible conversations. If we did not get to your question today, please feel free to send it in. If there's anything specific, then send it in to like a community moderator or an astronaut. But if it's a question that you feel will benefit the masses and like the IO community as a whole, please do send it in. Just a caveat, like I said, next week's one may be on Twitter Spaces or X Spaces, so just keep an eye out for that. The moment it's confirmed, of course, we will definitely share that with you guys. But thank you all. Thank you for joining. Happy Diwali, happy Halloween to wherever you guys are in the world. Love being here again, and have a great week ahead.
Thank you, guys. Have a great day.
Guys. Bye.
Thanks, guys.